So, as you said, reputation, Gefrain, very big thing. That's how, if it wasn't for Gefrain and dealing with the Utengard, you would, if it was not for the Utengard, you would not develop an Innangard. If it was not for talking to people and meeting people, you would not be able to develop Frith. It's kind of how I look at it. Now, there are, obviously different levels of obligations, and I also understand there are different levels of comfort. So I will say that your Innengard and your tribesmen should come first. But if you are comfortable, there's no reason to not reach out to the community and do things in a helpful capacity. Prime example is, so one of the things that I have kind of positions I found myself into is, if you're familiar with the Northwoods Kindred on YouTube with Gothi Bodvar, I am considered one of the trusted sources on his Discord server. So I basically have basically been branded as a, hey, he's got a pretty good idea of what he's talking about. So I get DMs all the time by newbie heathens. I also get a lot of questions from veteran heathens because in my tribal and hearth cultic practices, we are very much a mix of Nordic and Icelandic traditions, but then we also lean very heavily in Anglo-Saxon and continental heathenry. So their server, being an Asatru server, is very heavy in Nordic and Icelandic. So I will usually get a lot of questions from their people about Anglo-Saxon, because a lot of them didn't know that was a thing, didn't realize how different some of the source material is. Don't realize that, there are different ways to heathen. Heathenry encompasses all of Northern Europe. But when most people think of heathenry, they tend to only think of Nordic tradition. And then you got a small handful of people who will think, Anglo-Saxon and more Reconstructionist, kind of like Robert Sass. I know he's been on your show before. That is a very small it's a smaller movement that is starting to gain traction. But it's because heathens who have knowledge and are willing to speak on that knowledge or reach out to the community, and they share things. They get the ball rolling. And that's how we bring these traditions back.
Yeah, and I like to also, when you say, mixed bag, and how things are blended a bit, and it's what's also really interesting to keep in mind is, you and I are speaking as heathens in the United States, in North America, specifically in the lower 48. And when we talk about, mixed bag of things, we're not first of all, we're not in Scandinavia. We're not even in continental Europe, where like Saxon heathenry and all that started, and then moved up north and everything. We're in the United States. We're in Tennessee. You're in Illinois. We're American heathens, and how much of then the like we talked earlier about the landscape, the geography, how much that shapes our heathenry. Sure, we might call the spirits of the land, Vatir, which is, a Scandinavian term, or maybe other groups will call them, whites, which is a bit more of an Anglo-Saxon, word for the same thing that, in Ireland they were the Fey folk or something. You know what I mean? Like every space, every place has a different name for it. We call them the name of the tradition that it maybe we're focused on. But we're also experiencing those beings, those spirits, those spirits that are unseen in a landscape and in a space that is not Scandinavia. It's not continental Europe. It's America, and everything behaves differently wherever you go. And how much of that has to be considered with our heathenry, right? Like to realize it should be something that we're definitely putting focus and consideration into when developing through our customs, right? Whatever our respective group does or how it's done, the landscape and the geography should definitely, I feel, play a big role in that.